Da 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 da! What's my good cheer? Welcome, everybody. Let's give YouTube a couple of minutes, get those notifications out, let people know I've gone live. And in the meantime, if you've never met me before, hi, I'm Cindy. I explore the inside and the outside. And here on YouTube, I have this show, What's My Good Cheer? It's a show that I had on Instagram for quite a few years, and I am a Google girl through and through. And even though I had a live show here on YouTube, and if you've never popped into one of my live shows before, I have Chatters Live on Sundays. It's an amazing crew. It's caregivers, and not necessarily caregivers, but to each one of us, right? We have lifted each other up. We have helped each other out. We have been a shoulder to cry on, right? And we have been an ear for somebody who has had something to say, right? And they are chatters. They chat more than I do, and everybody is welcome. It's a good time. Every second chatters live that I do is a show and tell. Staff charges, we go through it, we chit chat. It's a pretty casual kind of live show, but it's comfortable, it's fun, and it's a good place to start if you haven't started, right? And when I say you haven't started, right, it's learning to be social, right? It's learning to find commonalities in other people that you recognize in yourself. It's also to be able to drum up a little bit of experience, right? Because sometimes it is hard to connect. It is hard to start up conversations, right? I've always been in hospitality. I worked bars and nightclubs and restaurants for the most part of my life, right? That schmoo, that being able to make a bridge in between somebody who, right, is just there to have their dinner or has had a bad day and has just come in for a drink. But when we sense something, right? And again, my income depended on it at that time, right? I'm still in hospitality, right? But that tip money isn't there anymore. So that incentive to go above and beyond, and also in that schmoo, because again, my income depended on that schmoo. I love what I'm doing now because that pressure to make money, right, is not there. I have a roof over my head. My bills are paid for, right? I am comfortable in making small baby steps and actually absorbing the lessons properly and sharing the lessons to the best of my ability in those skills that I have picked up along the way. And each one of us has skills, but unless we make that connection, hello, Pirate Walker, drinking gamer. Happy to have you back, and thank you so much yesterday for taking a look at my main channel and subscribing. That was absolutely amazing. Okay, he's got a comment. Happy to be here. Hope you are doing well, dear. I am watching while I'm working at Town Pump. I'll keep the stream open to help out. Aw, aren't you a sweetheart? Right? And sometimes that's all it is, in that little bit of support that we can give, right? Lots of times we think we have nothing to give, nothing to contribute, right? Right? We always hear these things, you get what you give, right? You have to do the service, and not necessarily have to do the service, but you should want to do the service. And everybody, for the most part, I would think, would like to serve in some way, but they don't have that creative juice in order to think that maybe possibly there is something to contribute. And I say everybody does. Oh my goodness, I call it the little drummer boy, the little drummer girl, that each one of us has an opportunity to contribute something, right? Even if it's just holding the door open for somebody, and like I said, right, a shoulder for somebody to cry on. Sometimes it's just being there and listening, which is what I was saying when I was first coming into the live, to be able to make connections, right, in little ways that offer up opportunities to have conversations, to bring in new ideas, and also to express your own ideas. Because this is how movements are, they get rolling like the snowball coming down the hill. They get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. It's like a restaurant that serves a really really mean steak, right? And you just absolutely love the steak, and you yap to your cousins and your uncles and your friends, and the next thing you know, word of mouth has made this restaurant a huge hit, right? Of course, the product has to stand up to the criticism or the compliment, right? But if it does, oh my goodness, word of mouth is the best way to make friends, to make a little bit of movement, to feel comfortable in your own skin, because now you're not searching out, right? People possibly could be searching out you, right? Searching out you, or searching out the resources you had because of word of mouth, right? Pirate Water Drinking Gamer is an amazing person. So sweet to come in on his working shift and just to support Cindy. He leaves the live going on, right? One extra ear. And even though he's doing his job and might not catch every sentence, right? That thoughtfulness gives me the is it confidence? Maybe not confidence, but right, it's a little bit, well, if he can do that, right, I could at the very least show up, which is what I'm doing today. Last day off of the job that puts the roof over my head. Back to work tomorrow. Hopefully I have an amazing amazing week, and I'm confident because it's in my choices. And I have to say, you guys, this week, even though we have this amazing word synthesis, I'm in another lesson. It's a lesson that comes to me periodically, quite often, and it's these words: choice and change. So I've been rehashing some of the lessons, some new lessons, compounding something, some ingredient that I'm missing, that I didn't get the first time, that it's coming across my path again. Also, it is a season of change, and I'm looking at that for myself. And right, like most women, when you think of change, the first thing is, oh, listen, you got to go on a diet. First thing, and I jump on the scale. And, oh, yeah, I guess I could do with 25 pounds. And then I think, well, spring is coming, and right. But really, when I think of change and we add that word choice to it, right? Is that really what I'm being asked to do? To go on a diet? I don't feel it. But sometimes it's in that guilt and shame. Sometimes in that need to create some change for myself. And because, diets were just a real quick way to introduce some change into my life at all times, right? My entire life. I was that little fat kid. I was that obese teenager. I was that obese adult, right? So when it was time for change, right, I didn't know what to do, right? The options were slim. Well, a diet was a no-brainer because a diet for sure brings about change, right? How your clothes fit, how you bring about a little bit of exercise into your life, how you take out some of those foods that don't serve you and then add foods that do serve you. And then also at the same time, because there's that momentum of a diet, we start going into our minds, into our imaginations, and right, we think about, oh my goodness, June's right around the corner, gonna get into that amazing bathing suit that I bought last year. Oh my goodness, all those beautiful blouses that I bought, that I spent so much time, not so much time, caught my fancy, I bought it. I got a full closet, all thrifted though, but all beautiful. And I don't want to redonate them. A lot of these clothing I want to keep for myself. But what's the point of keeping clothing if they don't fit anymore? And if that's the case, I have no choice but to redonate them, right? Having part of that little drummer girl mentality, I'm looking for ways to serve, right? Donating clothes is a good way to serve. But at the same time, I love my clothes and I would much rather lose 20 pounds than lose my beautiful blouses. Okay, let's pull it to the main trunk because Cindy's trailing off. We got this word synthesis this week. And I said last night that maybe we'd talk a little bit about the science of it, a little bit about the future, right? And how this word could impact us. But it's up to us and it's in our choices, right? And choices and change are big in my life this week in lesson. So we're gonna just let it spill into this lesson. It's in our choices whether or not to amalgamate, right? With different ideas, with different experts in their fields, right? With different beliefs. And that's a hard one because that's like mixing oil with water sometimes, isn't it? Different religions. And even though you take a look at these religious and spiritual ideas that, for baselines, they're really running quite equal in, right, how they would like to represent themselves and getting along with other people. But because of, right, some of their other beliefs, that we are butting heads, right? And in this word synthesis, it's about us softening a little bit, right? Remember what I said yesterday, that I'm allowing myself to be drawn into this? And we are so pig-headed, we are so steadfast in our beliefs that sometimes we're not even willing to allow another idea, another belief to come across our paths. Why? Because we're afraid, right? That we might get swayed away from our beliefs. But that would be absolutely impossible if they were true beliefs, right? You're only getting swayed, right? Because possibly you misunderstood, right? You took in a lesson from somebody who misunderstood. It's really difficult to make movement when we don't get along. And, there was a series of interviews I was watching. I was really hooked on them there for about a month. I haven't watched one all week, obviously, because I'm deep in this, right? But Lex Fridman, and he talks to a lot of scientists and philosophers and numerologists and different experts in their fields, really, really deep thinkers. And none of them really care for, they tolerate each other, but you can tell because they're so steadfast in their ideas. Each one of them thinks that their science is the be all to end all, the answer to everything. And in this word synthesis, and thank you so much, everybody, for popping in. And thank you for the contributions, dear, in the conversation. Pirate Water Drinking Gamer says, I held the door for someone today on my way out of the store. So that's actually hilarious. Well, that's actually service, is what that is, dear, right? What you give, you get, right? It's not like somebody's going to hold the door for you. They may, right? But maybe you'll walk down the sidewalk and find a $20 bill, right? Maybe you'll go to 7-Eleven and pick up a lottery ticket and win a little bit of money, right? I don't gamble anymore. I haven't gambled in 4 years, not even a lottery ticket. I am done with gambling. I am so grateful for that gift, but that gift came from my choices. And even though I got a little help in that, right? Because, well, COVID started and everything got locked down. And even though I could have gambled online, I took that opportunity to look at it as a little bit of help so I wouldn't go to the bar and put my money into the slot machines, right? That I wouldn't go to the casinos and put the money in the slot machines, that I wouldn't put all my hope in putting my last $3 into a Lotto 649, which is our big lottery ticket, right? It was like $40 million or something last week, and put all my hope into winning something big, right? I am grateful I'm not gambling, right? And even though I know whoever, whatever, the universe wants to give me a big one, and what easier way than to give it to me in hitting a big one? How easy is that? But the world's going to have to get creative. Those other parts of me are going to have to get creative because gambling is not a part of my life. And that is a sad way to make a living. It's a sad way to pull in abundance because where's the pride in that? And I'm not judging anybody. And maybe I guess I am judging, but also it's in the recognition this moment of how I'm going for my abundance, right? And I'm going to recognize that in the moment because I never recognized it before, the way I'm going about, right? Creating my abundance, even in the topics that I chose, right? But it came from a lesson. It came from a hard lesson, right? That my purpose came from my pain. And I put all my belief into that because the source had my belief, right? And so I move with that. And in my greatest pain, well, here I am, right? And even though it's rooted in the pain, it's not what I want to bring to the table. And if you go to my main channel, you could see it's not what I want to bring to the table, right? I want to bring the joy, right? Right? We all know it's crazy town out there. We know it's crazy town out there. We get to create, right? That safe space for ourselves. And hopefully, my platforms are that, right? It's the combination of Cindy. Even, right? When we talk about synthesis, you can look at my channel itself. And Private Water Drinking Gamer was in my main channel last night. And I'm sure you took a look at my channel and what I was bringing to the table, right? You would have subscribed if you hadn't. But you would have seen that in synthesis, all parts of me come together to make my brand, right? This show, it's a lot of mindset. I bring it in layman's term. I try to keep it light because we do this in baby steps, right? But they still are heavy subjects, and they are still important subjects because our own very existence, our own evolution, right, depends on us being able to combine all those parts of us in order to make a whole. And that's my belief. That's the truth for me. But not everybody is there yet. So how can we accomplish this? Well, you do it creatively, you do it in a safe environment, like I'm doing here in my own home, right? In my own safe environment with restrictions in my analytics, right? And in my branding to make sure that everybody is 18 years old when they come into this channel. And yes, it'll make it so I don't get a lot of views, but I want the right views, not more views. I've been at this for 10 years. I have been on social media. My YouTube channel and my Instagram, I do believe, are both going to be 10 years old this coming September, right? 10 years on these platforms. And even though I'm making movement, right, you can see the movement in other creators. And I'm not begrudging that movement for anybody because we all move differently. We are all uniques. We all want to bring something different to the table, right? And like I said, sometimes all it takes is opening a door for somebody. Sometimes it's just taking that moment when somebody stops you just to comment on the weather and instead of brushing them off because it's insignificant conversation that you just don't find interesting, but you took 2 minutes to banter with somebody and brighten somebody's day, right? Hold it back. If you hang out with me, you know I do side branches. It's the adventure of all of this. In all of my life, the side branches have kept me going. Right? When you're stuck in the mogwire, when you're stuck in that muck, when you're in the struggle, when you're in that mix, you have to add the smiles too, right? Otherwise, well, you're going to get stuck in that muck, right? That struggle could turn into a catastrophe or turn something you love doing into a chore. And, right, I've committed to my brand. I'm going to be here to the very end. If I don't show up, you know something happened, right? This is part of my life, not just part of my brand. Or maybe I've become a part of my brand. Maybe, well, I am brand building, so I guess I am my brand, right? It takes all kinds to make the world, and that is a truth. And when we look at people who are so steadfast, when they are so expert that they've got it down back, they know nobody can budge them from their ideas, and they've closed themselves off to the possibility of, right, a little course correction, right? I'm course corrected every day. Every day I learn something new. Every day I have something I thought was true, right? Kind of fizzle off and move to the side, right? Doesn't get to be part of my life anymore. I just keep walking, and it's like I'm shedding pieces of clothes as I'm walking. Maybe not a good analogy there or a good thought in the eyesight, but it's what surfaced when it surfaced, right? So I made a couple of notes when it came to this subject of synthesis. My ideas about moving forward in this evolution, right? And finding ways to better get along with ourselves and better get along with others by building boundaries, right? And setting values and searching out people who have similar or like minded values as you, right? Nothing worse than waking up and finding yourself in a snake pit. And I've stepped in that doo doo many, many, many times, right? I was just taking a look here, when we talk about synthesis, about all parts coming together to make a whole, I have to take a look at all those parts of me, right? All the parts that I contributed, that I worked hard to course correct or bring on as my own, or allow myself to be drawn into and to be, it's not a good word. I was going to say reprogrammed, but how about if we say have a fresh understanding, right? Of some of those lessons that I've gotten and picked up along the way. At this point, I want to bring all those parts of me together, right? There are all parts of me because I'm different parts that I've chosen from the good qualities of my mother, right? I'm also the things that worked for her. I picked those up. I picked up on a lot of things that probably I shouldn't have picked up. But at the same time, we understand my dad was a compulsive gambler, and I did pick up the gambling, not because, right, he pushed me to it because my father had been passed away for quite a while by the time I picked up gambling, but because of that emotional attachment that I had to my father. And we're just going to send some good cheer out there. That this, I live behind a fire station, and every once in a while the fire trucks go by. So we're just going to wish them, right, some good cheer and hope it's a false alarm and they just get turned around and go back to the station. I'm sure they're good. I'm sure they're good with that. Okay, so not losing my train of thought, and I don't mean your comments are flying there, dear. Pirate water drinking gamer. Uh, I love your spirits. It's ambitious to listen to. That you I subbed, but yes. I had a homeless guy come yesterday. I work nights and I bought him a sub sandwich, chips, and a drink, and he hugged me, right? He hangs out in front all the time, and he's in and out of jail for it, right? It's amazing the things you can say in day being a tiller. Daydreaming a tiller. Oh my goodness. I just love your emojis. I just love your emojis. They're so cool. I don't know if those are custom ones or not. I've never seen them before, but thank you. Thank you so much for contributing in that. But your 100% gambling is terrible, terrible. It sucked me in, and it sucked me in hard for probably 15 or 20 years. Took me that long, right? But then again, when my marriage fell apart, it took me just as long to come out of that. But it is, right? In talking, time, and crying that we finally can overcome a lot of these struggles that we bring in to our lives. But because we are so, right, headstrong, so set in our ideas, right, don't want people to think that we're weak. It's just a matter of getting started. Oh my goodness. But how kind of you to buy a homeless guy a sandwich. I work in a little thrift store. We used to be able to dress the homeless and as each season changes, give them fresh clothes, give them sleeping bags, blankets, you know. But it's been a real problem in the past year, and the company had to shut down that privilege because employees were physically getting hurt in their interactions with the homeless. And it broke my heart because it was one of my favorite things to do was to help the disadvantaged, right? That little drummer girl looking what I can do to provide service without, right, having it cost me an arm and a leg, right? Not like I was cheap. It was just that I didn't have the resources myself. So I was just being creative, right? Just like I donate my time to Heritage Winnipeg for Doors Open Winnipeg, but I haven't given them any money yet, right? And one day, like Andrew Carnegie, they could look forward to that great, big, huge check, and it will feel like a lottery win to them. Confident. I am putting that out to the universe because it would be something that I would be very proud to be able to contribute to 100%. Okay, I'm sorry about that. I lost my dad when I was younger. Didn't even get to know him. I was 4 years old when that's a hard one, dear. That was a hard one. 4 years old. I was very young. I lost all my grandparents. Um, my father was also young when he passed away, not as young as yours, but my father was only 47 years old when he passed away. My dad had congenital heart disease. He got a death sentence from his doctor when he was still not even an adult yet. He never even thought he was going to be able to have a family, and the family was his greatest dream ever, this love for life that I have, right? And when we talk about um, synthesis, I'm all different parts of both my parents. I am parts of my experiences. I'm parts of the friends I've made through the course of my life. I'm even parts of those people that didn't treat me kindly when I was obese and called me fatso and beat me up, or those employers who right judged me when I walked in the door for an interview, right? And most of the time they would say, oh, she's going to be a good employee because that woman doesn't have a life. And they were right. I was an amazing employee. And they were even more right. I didn't have a life. Not the case now. I am a busy girl. I am a busy girl. Aw, thank you so much. Right? And for yours too, and for your loss at not having a father, right, to be with you, to right, you had a taste of single parenthood. I'm going to assume maybe your mother remarried, but you know, in this day and age, I would have to say 50% of the kids are growing up with one parent and possibly the grandparents helping out in that, right? But I don't know. This has been going on for a few generations, and I think a big part of the crazy town, right, is the synthesis of all those small problems, right? All those small ingredients that contributed to make the whole, right? Women's liberation in the 60s and 70s, right? The women were in the workforce. What did we do? We have divorce becoming more acceptable. So now you have single mothers taking care of the children, trying to be male figures, right? And not even being home for their children, and their children are being brought up, being babysat by the televisions, and now the video games, right? So many ingredients out there to be added to the pot in what we're creating in the best human being, right? We possibly can. In creating this amazing earth and trying to create it, I know it sounds cliche, but heaven on earth is going to take a lot of ingredients. And we don't have all those ingredients yet, right? And those ingredients are going to come through the conversations and the interactions that we have with each other, right? Because we learn off each other, we copy each other, we move along with each other. And for the most part, we kind of see how we would like to move, and then we all move the same way. And then if you a little bit unique and you move a little bit differently, automatically that's focused, and that could be a good focus, right? In a uniqueness, or in that uniqueness, you could be put in your place and made to feel less for that uniqueness, right? And that happens. It happens too much. So grateful for the lessons that I have, that I can recognize that when it comes across my path. It's just a matter of dealing with that little bit of ouchie when I recognize it, but being grateful at the same time that I can leave it behind, that I don't have to drag it along, right? Drag things that aren't worthy, that aren't meeting or up to par, right? I don't have to drag that around with me, that I get to pick and choose the ingredients for this recipe, for this cake that I am baking, that I'm baking. Not at this moment. I'm still adding ingredients. Why? Because I'm willing to be able to be dissuaded from the ingredients that I'm adding to my cake right now, right? If they're not going to make the cake taste delicious, why am I adding cayenne pepper when I should be adding cinnamon, right? Why am I adding onions when it should be a tablespoon of vanilla, right? Take your time, take your lessons, because all those lessons in synthesis will make the whole. All those lessons. And to each one of us, those lessons are going to be different. And in keeping in tune to that other set of lessons that I've been getting this week, it's all going to be in our choices. Change comes into our life, right? Through the choices that we make. And each one of us get to make those choices. And each one are going to have a different hors d'oeuvre platter to choose from. And that is all going to depend on the interactions that we have, the relationships that we have, whether it's at home, whether it's at work, whether it's with strangers and opening the door for them, right? That somebody walked through that door with a warm feeling towards you, and that comes back to you, right? And it does, right? And it's in my hopes and showing up every single day that that evidence will become revealed, right? Not just to everybody out there, but to be compound and realized for myself. Okay, you guys. Okay. I'm sorry about that. I lost my dad when I was younger. Didn't even get to know him. I was 4. Rest in peace, for real. Uh, Thank you. No, she never remarried. It's just me and her. We live in a mobile home, so I'm here for her when she just move my mouse over so I can see what the comment is there. Um, Passes, I'll move up. When she passes, you'll move out. So you're a caregiver, dear, right? You're a caregiver. That's amazing. You should come hang out with us Sunday nights on Chatters Live. I have a lot of caregivers on Chatters Live, right? Just not people who take care of their parents and take care of their siblings, but I have nurses and paramedics. I have pastors and and priests and right? I have people who practice mindset. I have right caregivers. Caregiving comes in all different forms, right? You're a caregiver today and just holding the door open for somebody. That's caregiving, right? 73 years old. My mother passed away when she was 72 years old. It's beautiful that you're taking care of your mother that way. I never had that opportunity to build on the relationship with my mother, right? That I was able or even wanted to take care of my mother. I was a good daughter, right? I did my duty, but that's all I did was right? And I'm not going to say that's all on me. I made choices that contributed to that too. And I don't think I could have made any other different choices, right? Um, it was what it was. Ah, Nancy's here too. My Jack in the box. 100%, dear. Thank you so much. You caught the tail. You caught the tail end. Ha! They come in for the explore videos for the most part, right? Those 3,000 subs, but pop in, I do. And a lot of the subjects that I touch, right? It doesn't open up for a lot of heavy conversation, but I'm good with that. I'm really good if there's even just people who come in later and listen when they have a moment or watch when they have a moment or even watch now and just stay in the background because like I said, along my channel I have a lot of caregivers and a lot of introverts, a lot of people who hang with themselves and are content to hang with themselves. They're not big talkers, they're not big yappers. I am grateful for the chatters that I do have because they do chat. Nancy is one of those chatters for sure. Uh Thank you. Nancy is one of my friends that has been hanging out with me on this channel for oh my goodness, I would think for almost 10 years from almost when I started. Nancy, do you know when you started following my content? Do you know how long it's been? I have no idea, but I would have to say that Nancy pretty much came into my content when I first started up. on YouTube, pretty close to it in any case. And like I said, this September, I think I'm celebrating my 10th anniversary on YouTube, right? I have, oh my goodness, I have no idea how many videos. I've got hundreds of videos up, and I have a couple of thousand posts on Instagram. I've been around for a while. Really, Nancy, that's amazing. I just want to recognize that, Nancy, because you have been a good friend to me. And, even though we've never met in person, right, we have exchanged and we do spend time together and we do take interest in each other's lives. And you keep showing up. And I'm very grateful for that. Thank you so much, right? You're part of my whole. Oh, isn't that sweet? It's like a Valentine. You're part of my whole, Nancy. You are too, Private Water Drinking Gamer. Such a hard name. I noticed when you came into my YouTube channel, you were using the initials PWDG. Is that what you were calling your brand? Mm, but it worked. Thank you guys. Thank you. I had a heavy set of days off because I was deep into the lessons. I didn't feel like leaving the house. I gave it some thought, but as fast as I gave it some thought, I gave it the unthought too. I am back tomorrow to work in the job that puts the roof over my head. Grateful for that job. And as fast as the work week starts, that work week ends, and this one will start up. Well, for a while, it goes together for a while because I'll be back tomorrow. I show up every single day live on my platforms. If you guys want to pop in, you're welcome every single day. Thank you so much, everybody. We'll see each other tomorrow. I am back. Have a great night, everyone.